Okay. Well, it is 12:03 now. So with that, I want to be respectful of everyone's time and go ahead and welcome everyone to our virtual University of Arizona Global Campus community. I do want to acknowledge that by registering for this webinar, you do acknowledge that this is being recorded. And again, I just want to welcome you all for taking part in our MBA program webinar series. This is a terrific collaboration between the University of Arizona Global Campus's Forbes School of Business and Technology's MBA program and some of our brightest thought leaders. The MBA program webinar series is held several times throughout the year and is intended to share valuable lessons and leadership skills needed to compete in today's economy. My name is Kelly Wood. I'm a senior account executive for Zovio. We are an education technology company that provides support services for the University of Arizona's global campus and its students. And I'm just delighted to facilitate today's webinar. So as I was saying, we have a packed hour with three speakers today. I know most of you are here to learn more from our keynote presenter, Dr. Emad Rahim, whose presentation is certainly going to move you when you hear his personal story of survival and resilience. But I guarantee you are in for some enlightening lessons. Dr. Rahim is going to help all of us leverage the power of storytelling. And if you don't think that you have a story, after today's presentation, I think you just might realize that you do, that we all have a story to tell. Following Dr. Rahim, you'll be hearing from Dr. Charlie Minnick, the faculty lead for Forbes School of Business and Technology's MBA program. Dr. Minnick will be sharing a brief but comprehensive overview of the MBA program. So if you've ever thought about obtaining your MBA, today you're going to learn what makes UAGC's MBA program unique. And then last but not least, my colleague Mike Spear, who is also managing the chat, will provide a brief overview of our education saving benefits. UAGC offers a range of benefits to help learners like all of you obtain your educational goals with the least amount of cost or out-of-pocket debt. And don't worry, with such a great audience today, we know that there's going to be questions. We have time at the end of today's presentation to answer your questions. So if you would be so kind, we appreciate everyone now sharing where you're from and connecting with us in the chat. But for your questions, if you would use that Q&A function to post any questions, Mike Spears, I mentioned, will be keeping track of those, and we'll get to as many of those questions as we can at the end of the presentation. So we want to kick things off with a little icebreaker. It's just like if we were all here together in person. We've got a poll question for you to take part in. So given today's presentation is all about storytelling, we'd like to know, what is your comfort level with sharing your story? On a scale of 1 to 4, what's your comfort level in sharing your story with others? Don't feel like you have to read into it too much. Take a look at those 4 choices. We'll give you another minute or two. Maybe not a whole minute or two, but give you a little bit of time to go ahead and consider what your answer would be. Okay. What do you think, Mike? That need a little bit more time? All right. Mike's in charge.
They're still coming in. We'll give it like 10 more seconds.
That's good. We still see some people actually joining us, so we can leave this here for a little bit more time to make sure everyone has a chance to share their thoughts. And this information is going to be helpful. Once we see the responses here in a minute, which we'll be sharing with everyone, Dr. Rahim will have a chance to noodle on that for a moment. All right. So there we go, Dr. Rahim, on a scale of 1 to 4, we can see the results. Are they still coming in, or are these the final results as of now, Mike?
That is the final results. I think we have
Okay.
84% of the people voted. So I think that's probably a pretty good representation.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So the leading here is, I'm interested in sharing my story, but need more training and practice. I totally agree with that myself. I think I certainly would fall in that category. It can be a little, nerve-wracking, not kind of navigating how much do you share. But I think we're going to learn more about that from Dr. Rahim shortly. So I would go ahead and move over here. Like to take a moment now to introduce you to our keynote speaker, Dr. Ahmad Rahim. And it is really my pleasure. This is especially exciting for me because as an MBA student at UAGC myself, I recently completed the Global Economics and Political Influence class, which was instructed by Dr. Rahim. So Dr. Rahim, I just wanted to take a moment with the 232 participants joining us today to thank you for challenging me and really all of our classmates over these last 6 weeks. Your passion for inspiring students to think critically showed in the way that you connected with each of us in the lessons that we learned, week after week. And how you connected those lessons that we were learning through text and through discussions to the real issues and business challenges that are taking place right now in our society and the world today. And I think that's just one of the things that makes our UAGC Forbes School of Business MBA program so incredibly unique, is just that high level of engagement and interaction that takes place in the class, led by you as instructors, but also for someone like yourself coming with such a incredible background and real world experience. You bring that into the classroom. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So I know how humble you are. So before I turn the mic over to you, I'd really like just to take a moment and introduce you to our audience by sharing a few interesting facts that, quite frankly, I'm not sure how you've accomplished so much already in your lifetime. So I came across an article in the Huffington Post that I thought did a really nice job of featuring your story. And so I've decided to take a little bit of that excerpt in this introduction. I'm just going to read a little bit from that Huffington Post article. Dr. Emad Rahim is well known for his social entrepreneurship work and for helping to grow the entrepreneurship ecosystem on university campuses across the country. So sharing his story of resilience and overcoming challenges with high schools and college students throughout the country, he has helped inspire people everywhere to turn their tragedies into triumphs. An entrepreneur, mentor, professor, project manager, philanthropist, and advocate for education are a few of the terms that can be used to describe Dr. Ahmad Rahim. He is an award-winning author, Fulbright recipient, and TEDx speaker, and was recognized in 2014 as a United Nations Foundation Impact Honoree, which recognizes the top US entrepreneurs under the age of 35. On the academia side, Dr. Rahim is an endowed chair and professor and former entrepreneur in residence at Oklahoma State University and Syracuse University. He holds an honorary PhD from the Chicago School of Professional Psychology and honorary associate degree from SUNY Onondaga Community College. He is an equity partner of Zetudium, a multimedia company based in London, and founder of Inclusive 360 LLC. He lives in chilly Syracuse, New York with his wife and 2 amazing daughters and loves traveling and clearly helping others succeed. Thank you so much, Dr. Rahim, for joining us today.
Hey, I am happy to be here, and thank you for doing your homework on me. So you did your homework. That's
Oh,
that's
yes.
that's impressive. You mentioned 35 when I got that award. That's I'm not 35 anymore. That's a while back. All right. So first off, the polls. Can you pull that up again so I can see it really quick so we can talk about it before we go into this presentation? All right. So it looks like 11% of you said that you are very intimidated in sharing your story. And that's common, actually. That's the majority of us, right? The idea of sharing yourself openly makes you feel very vulnerable. That is scary, right? Let me see, 25% of you said you are unsure and nervous about the idea. Yes, extremely nervous, right? It's a form of public speaking, right? And you're sharing something that may be, intimate about yourself, and you're kind of unsure how people are going to take it, right? And if people are going to use it against you, so it's very intimidating. What's impressive is that you have 22% of people in here that are feeling very comfortable with doing this, right? So that's wonderful. And I think a lot of it has to do with social media, that people, I think you're finding a lot more people willing, to share a little bit about themselves, sharing their personal journey, failures, accomplishments to motivate and inspire others. You've seen a lot more of that, both young and old. And 42% of you are interested in sharing story, but you don't know where to start, right? And I think we're going to start from here. All right. So thank you very much for taking that survey. Really appreciate it. So let's get started. So in this picture, I'm gonna give you a scenery, right? So I'm gonna give you a background picture of this image. Right? So back in, I want to say like 2007, I believe. Wow, that's a while back. I was working for a university called Empire State College, and I was a recruiter. So I did recruitment, I did like diversity training, I did some mentorship. I did a lot of these things for this university. And part of my job as a recruiter, I did outreach. So I used to get phone calls from people all the time asking to purchase, tickets to events, sponsoring programs and things like this. So one day I got this phone call, and it's from a person by the name of Kyle Bass. And he was the artistic director at Syracuse Stage, which is equity theater in Syracuse, New York, connected with Syracuse University. So he was telling me about this play that they were, bringing, that they were hosting or sponsoring, whatever you want to call that, and they were bringing it out to the public. They were promoting it, and he was sharing all this information about this play, and I was just, waiting for him to ask me to buy tickets, right? So he just going on, and he was a great salesperson. I mean, I became very intrigued, and I'm thinking, wow, our students really like this show. This sounds amazing. And after he got done, he goes, so what do you think about auditioning for this show? And I was like, auditioning? You must have the wrong person, because I don't act, right? I don't have any acting skills. There's nothing in my background that says acting, right? So I don't know where you got this information. And he goes, no, we think you would be a good fit for this play, because this play is all about storytelling, right? You would be on stage telling your story and telling the stories of other people in your community, and they would be doing the same thing for you. And it still sounds kind of crazy and intimidating, but what they have to lose, right? So I did some research on the director and the playwright at the time, and his name is Ping Chong. So if you Google Ping Chong, he's a big deal. Like, I mean, like Wikipedia big deal, right? And like Broadway, Tony nominated big deal. So now I'm extremely intimidated. Like, whatever hair I had left, that was gone. Like, it was all gone. And and I had no idea to prepare for this audition, for this interview. There's no script, there's no research, there's nothing. So I just showed up, and they were waiting for me on stage. So Ping Chong and his partner Sarah Zaff waiting on stage. And all they had on stage was a table, some tissue, like a large tissue box. I mean, it's probably the largest tissue box I've ever seen, and a garbage pail with tons of tissue paper that looks like someone's been basically getting busy with all these, probably crying and things like that. And so I get on stage and I sit with them, and instantly it became like some New York undercover CSI thing. They start asking me questions right away, just back, forth, and for whatever reason, I just started sharing a little bit about myself, right? I started answering their questions without even thinking, just answering the questions. And they asked something very personal about me, right? They asked me about my father. And I started crying. Like, I started bawling, just out of nowhere, just became extremely emotional because I did not know my father. My father was killed in the concentration camp back in Cambodia because I was a genocide survivor. And when they asked me that question, it was something I've never answered, right? I've never shared that with anybody. And it made me very emotional. And all of a sudden, I became a part of the show, right? And for almost 3 months, I was sharing my story on stage to 300 people every single day for 3 months. And it was the most amazing experience I've ever had, right? What's more powerful was the connection I was creating with people in the audience, right? So while we live different, while our journey in life was very different, right? That we experienced different accomplishments. We experienced sadness at different times. We had hardships. We've overcome adversity. So we're very uniquely different in those things. But what was powerful was people found what they could connect with, right? So I think in life, we often look at differences too much when it comes to stories and backgrounds, but unintentionally, right? And more organically, we start gravitating towards those things that we are connected with, right? So while I was sharing my story, people were gravitating towards my family, right? They were gravitating towards my story of growing up in Brooklyn, right? I had people in the audience that, where their grandparents had survived the Holocaust, right? And they approached me and were very emotional. And it allowed this amazing connection to happen in my community and other communities. Can you go to the next slides, please? And so through that journey of being on stage, all of a sudden, I was being asked to travel the country and share my story. At university commencements, large trade associations, huge workshops and things like that. And I became a trainer, I became a storyteller, I became a keynote speaker. So it was very weird, right? To be this shy person. And I, believe it or not, I am an introvert, right? I never really left my city or my neighborhood. And all of a sudden I was traveling, not just in the country, but outside of the country, right? I was traveling to Canada. I was traveling to Kosovo, Greece, Montenegro, just all over the place, sharing my story. And what was amazing was, regardless of where I went, when you share genuine moments in your life, when you make it intentional, when you make it open, and when you are being vulnerable, all of a sudden it creates this amazing energy in that room, because then people feel it's okay for them to be vulnerable, right? And then all of a sudden, there were people that wanted to share their story, that have never shared their story before. Like, I'm a stranger, but because I shared a little bit about myself, all of a sudden they wanted to share a little bit about themselves. Like, they wanted me to know them because now they know a little bit about me, right? Can you move on to the next one, please? And that also changed my life, because then all these publications started approaching me, and I created more opportunities, for magazine profiles, YouTube videos, press releases. I've done 3 TED Talks now. So it's been this amazing roller coaster. And obviously it has its ups and downs. It's never perfect, right? On the way to growing this business, this now public speaking business and this motivational speaking business, I've also struggled with anxiety, like serious social anxiety, right? I've never experienced anything like this. I thought anxiety was just stress you get, but it was a fear of being on stage. There's a fear of people seeing you, of judging you, to the point where it almost crippled me, right? And I had to seek therapy because I didn't deal, while I was sharing all of my pain, I'd never dealt with my pain, right? So it also, so this journey on stage also caused me to reflect on my own trials and tribulations, and also helped me heal, right? It also created a healing moment for myself and my family. So sometimes when you go through this journey of sharing yourself, you will discover things about yourself that you never knew, right? So understand that you have to prepare for everything, right? That it's not always a straight pointed path, right? Just like your life, right? It's going to have its bumps. It's going to have its left and right. And you have to figure out what decision is best for you and your family. Not best for the organization, not best for your client, not best for the business, but what is good for you? What is good for your health? What is good for, your faith? What is good for your community, and so forth? Next one, please. And through the sharing of my story and meeting people, all of a sudden I got more opportunities. And one of the great things, right? I mean, great, because while I have all these titles behind my name, right? I'm also dyslexic, right? I struggled with a learning disability for most of my young adult life, right? And when I say dyslexic, it's not like a mild learning disability. I used to struggle with reading, spelling, comprehension. It took me longer to read and write than any of my peers in school. And I struggled because of that. I spent 4 years in a community college. And remember, community college is 2 years. So I spent 4 years in there until I found myself and got a lot of support that I needed, and realized that I could learn. I just learned different. And one of the great things about realizing what you could really do if you have the right tools, if you have the right support, if you are placed in the right environment, I started excelling in something that I think I would never excel in. That's higher education, something that I was very intimidated in. And all of a sudden I went from being this struggling high school student to earning 2 doctorates, to becoming a dean at multiple universities, to becoming an endowed chair, and then writing books and seeing these books go on to be bestsellers on Amazon, and seeing people integrate them in curriculum, and going to high schools and seeing kids like hold your book in the air like this and ask for an autograph. I'm like, you really want an autograph from me? Right? So it was an amazing experience. Please, next one. All right, so how do we get there, right? So one of my favorite rappers of all time is Jay-Z, right? And Jay-Z had this line that says, I'm not a business man, I'm a business man, right? And what he is saying, which resonated with me, especially because I was interested in entrepreneurship, was that he was looking way beyond his peers, right? He didn't see music as just one thing. He didn't see himself as just a hip hop artist, right? He didn't see himself as a businessman doing music. He saw what he was doing was in itself a business, an industry, right? So he was teaching someone like me that was listening to his music, saying, listen, what you do, make it intentional. Don't just do it once, don't just do it twice, but figure out how you can leverage this opportunity to grow a business, right? And you yourself could be not just a person doing business, but what you do could be the business, right? And I thought that was fascinating. I thought that was amazing. So I started, incorporating this philosophy and this idea into my lectures, into my presentations, and especially into my classroom. So here's some of the questions I want you to consider, right? So first off, what is your brand and how does your story fit in it, right? So what I'm saying is that when people look at you, right? What do you want them to see, right? What do you want them to gain, right? And how does that image, how does that message fit into what you want to share, right? What you want to promote? What is your main goal, career aspirations, and purpose in life? Because we're not just sharing just random stories. You have to be strategic, right? So how does this story support your career goals? How does this story support your academic dreams, right? Because you want people to make those connections and see how your journey will make you a powerful entrepreneur, will make you an amazing partner in business, right? What is your story and how will you share it? That's very critical, right? Very important, right? We have to be strategic in how much we share, when we should share, and what platforms we use to share, right? We just can't randomly throw things and hoping it will stick, right? Because not everything will stick. And and like a lot of opportunities, if you mess up the first time, it could mess up your momentum, right? So you have to be very careful and very strategic, right? How will you engage with your audience to grow your brand? And that's another thing about being strategic and planning, right? You know, when it comes to social media, there are a lot of people that will buy followers, right? So if you're not familiar with this, there are companies where you could purchase, say, 20,000 followers, right? And then they use that to say, hey, look at me. Look how amazing I am. I have 20,000 followers on Twitter. I have 100,000 followers on Facebook. But these are not real followers. A lot of them are robots. You know, a lot of them are just spammers and so forth. So numbers don't mean much, right? It's the level of engagement that you have with your followers. So what I'm saying is that true growth and strong branding requires your followers to support you, to engage with you, right? So if you see a post and it has like 20,000 likes, that sounds amazing, right? It may even look impressive to some of you. But if there's no comments, right, that's a sign that they bought those likes, right? That there's not people on the other side engaged in that. And they're not really creating opportunities through their story and through their messaging. So just be very careful and leery of that type of stuff. Next one, please. All right. So let's go into the meat and bones of this, right? So is it time for the other poll yet? Is this the slide that we have, the other poll? All right, so put that poll out there and I will continue to go over this, right? All right, so while you are completing that poll, here's some other questions, right? So what do you want to share, right? That is probably the most important question you need to ask yourself, because we don't want to share everything. And like I said, we have to be strategic in what we are sharing, right? Let me give an example, right? Let's say you want to be a motivational speaker, in higher education, right? So many of you are adult students, right? You're probably juggling work, family with education. And then you probably have like community commitment. You have, commitments with your church, with your mosque, with your synagogue, whatever it is, you're juggling. It's a lot. You might be a single parent, right? And you accomplish this amazing feat, right? You completed your degree and you want to share this because you want to inspire and motivate other people, right? Now, you can't share 4 years of your life, right? You don't have time to do it. So you have to be strategic in how you're going to use your journey to motivate and inspire people that are currently in school to complete their degree programs, to accomplish their academic goals. So you're going to use, really strategic examples of your own experience, of your own trials and tribulations going to school, and also some of your best practices. So you have to be very strategic, right? And that goes for any type of business, any type of audience you are trying to persuade, because one audience may find connection to one story and you need to change your story to another audience or change how you deliver that story, right? Who is your audience, which is another critical question, right? Because how you share your story, the platforms you use your story, how you market your story will all tie to who your audience is, right? So how I would share my brand to a bunch of high school students, if I want high school students to gravitate towards what I am promoting or to buy my books, my messaging and the platform I use is going to be very different if I was trying to, say, promote something I'm doing to you, right? Or if I was trying to promote, say, my speaking my speaking services to a corporation, to a Fortune 500 company, I also have to be very different in how I promote and deliver that message. What point are you trying to make? There needs to be a conclusion. It's not just about sharing yourself and just hoping people get it, hoping people gravitate towards it. There needs to be a call of action, right? Everybody wants to leave a presentation satisfied, right? Everybody wants to leave with something like it's not just, hey, I left this presentation and I feel good, but I feel good because of these things, right? This person made me thought about these things, right? And the key takeaways or tools or techniques, things that you could give to people that they can apply. So they can walk away and say, wow, I got a lot of great resources from that person. Because what's going to happen is they're going to start telling their friends, their colleagues about your story. But what's even more powerful is they're going to use those tools, right? Those gems you dropped on them. And they're going to say, I did these things based on this person's recommendation. I applied these habits. I applied this philosophy. I did these things, and it transformed my workplace. It's transformed my academic environment. And what they're going to do is that then now they're going to follow you. They're going to promote you. They're going to love you. They're going to share information with you. But you have to stay connected with that person, right? How long will it be? Right? Listen, people's level of what is that called? Their ability to stay connected with you, their attention span, right? So people's attention span is getting smaller and smaller, especially with media, right? So you can't just put an hour video out there and expect people to connect with you. You have to give them sound bites, right? Snippets, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 at the biggest, at the largest when it comes to like podcasts, Facebook Live, those type of things. You have to make it quick, short, and you have to hit it just right, right? Now, when it comes to public speaking, your client may want a 45-minute presentation, right? The company may want an hour presentation, and that's totally different. But when you're sharing a little bit about yourself on social media to promote who you are, what you're doing, short, really quick sound bites are perfect, right? Not large, I've been on LinkedIn. I saw these huge, 2-page type of postings. I don't have time to read that, especially if I am, on the go, trying to fly somewhere in a car somewhere, talking to someone. And most people you see, all of us do that, right? We're walking and we're looking at our phones, we're texting, and we don't have time to read all that stuff. You want to catch people's attention, grab them, and let them go, right? Just let them go, right? Right. What moments will create emotional connections? That's the key, right? So when you share your story, don't just share just one type of story, right? Don't just share examples that create one type of emotion, right? You don't want to go, see someone share their story and it's just depressing, right? You leave just crying. It was an amazing story, but I am depressed, right? So you want to create those moments where, because we all done it. We've done embarrassing things, right? We've said embarrassing things. We've had these aha moments. We've also experienced hardship. So you have to give a little bit of all those things and then time it just right so it spreads out. So people are crying, they're laughing, right? They're smiling, they're unsure what you're saying, right? So you want to call those things out. You want to share those things, but find what you are comfortable with, right? It took me a while to figure that out, right? It took me a while to figure out what type of things make the audience laugh, right? What type of things, basically creates a stronger emotional, impact when it comes to the story itself, right? So you have to figure that out. Next one, please. All right, do we have the results from the survey also? All right, so stay connected with friends and family, right? That's 54%, that's the largest, right? Promote your business is 2%, grow your professional network is 6%, professional development is 12%, all the above is 26%. So a lot of you, and I think when it comes to the purpose of social media, initially, like when we look at Facebook, for example, it was created to allow people to stay connected with their friends and family that have moved on, in other countries and other places. So we're not just calling each other, but we can continue to see each other. We see their pictures, we see their kids' pictures, we can chat, with them live and things like that. So it's an amazing tool for us to stay connected. Many of us do it for all these things, and that's, I think, is where more and more people are headed. Like, you have to figure out which social media does what for you, right? And don't share the same type of information in every platform. So let's go over this in more detail, right? So when it comes to sharing your information, it is critical, it is important, it is vital to figure out what platform is best for publishing your information. And let me say this right now. You do not have to pay for that service or for that platform. There's a lot of open source platforms out there, right? So don't worry about that, right? There's things like Medium, there's things like Blogspot, right? So even LinkedIn allows you to post content there, right? But you have to figure out the type of things you want to share and how you want to share it. What you post on Facebook should not be the same thing you post on LinkedIn, right? People on LinkedIn don't want to, they don't want to see your kids, right? They don't want to see your cat. They don't want to see your dogs, right? They don't want to see these things. LinkedIn is more a professional networking tool, right? That's where you start really promoting your brand. That's your product, your services, but also creating a network if you're looking for opportunities, right? You're looking for work, you're looking to create partnerships and so forth, right? Twitter is the same thing. Twitter is really quick sound bites, right? Almost like a news feed, right? You share, you capture, you share, you capture, you share, you capture, right? Hold on. All right. What social media is best to share your story and how? That pretty much answers that question right there. Just make sure that you are really aware of your network, right? People in your network, because also you might have spammers, these robot followers basically, and they're just trying to post random things on your page. So if they see that your page is active, they're going to start promoting their business and their service. So just be leery of that. Video and audio options to share your information. There's tons of, like I said, free open source, right? There's, obviously all of you know YouTube, right? Creating a video and uploading it. Facebook allows you to do this. LinkedIn allows you to do this. But as you grow your following, it creates an opportunity to monopolize, on your content, because as your subscription grows, as your followers grow, there's an opportunity to get advertisement dollars, right? Marketing dollars. How to control and manage your connection once it's out there, right? That's what I'm saying when it comes to being intentional, right? It's not just randomly saying stuff, because as an individual on Facebook, we tend to go on a random roller coaster of our feelings, of our ideas. We like something, we dislike something. But once you start promoting yourself, you have to be very cautious and conscious, because you could say the wrong thing and destroy your brand, like in minutes, right? If you don't believe me, right, go to YouTube, look up my name, and look up my Wikipedia fail, right? And I talk about, almost being destroyed by Wikipedia because of some misinformation, right? And I talk about that in TED Talk, right? So how often should I update your information? Really, it varies, right? Some content you want to do it daily, right? That seems like a lot, but some content you want to do it daily, right? Other content you just want to spread it out, right? You don't want to give people every single, every day people don't want to see stuff, right? Twitter, I often am putting stuff out a lot because it's like a news feed, right? LinkedIn, I might do 2 or 3 posting a day, right? Facebook, I do a lot more because I have friends and family, right? Instagram, I post maybe 2 pictures a day just to grow my following and engage with my followers. So how to develop your brand for marketing and advertisement. I think we covered all this stuff already, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have coming up. Please, the next one, please. All right, so here's some other questions, right? So let's say you don't want to be an entrepreneur, right? You're not trying to sell your product. You don't have a service to sell, right? So how does how does storytelling, how does public speaking support what you want to do, right? So what if you don't want to start a business? That's perfectly fine, right? How does this help you in your employment opportunity? So let's connect these 2 things, right? So we know that when it comes to interviews, right? Interviews would take, 5-10 minutes of people asking questions about your resume, about your background, about your experience, right? But afterwards, what's going to cause that employer, that person that is conducting an interview, to remember you is your story, right? Because your story is what's going to stick out between other people that are also going to be in that interview, right? I want you to think of your story in that situation like an elevator pitch, right? Like when an entrepreneur is trying to pitch their business to an investor, you only have a short period of time of pitching yourself, right, to that employer. So the more you practice in sharing your story, in crafting your story, it makes it better for you to really get opportunities in your, towards your career goals, right? Also, when it comes to employment, it's getting more and more competitive. We see this, right? More and more companies are hiring recruiters outside of the organization. So it's not like you can just call somebody at the company. It's a recruiter that will call you. It's a recruiter that is looking you up. So if you're not out there, right? If your brand is not being promoted, if you're not sharing your thought leadership out there, that recruiter can't find you. And when they do find you, recruiters are going to do what? They're going to search your information. They're going to Google you, right? So the more information you can control, the more likelihood they are going to stick with you, right? And support you and, and recommend you for these jobs. And I've been in interviews where recruiters have said, hey, I found this thing about you. Oh, I noticed this thing about you. So I didn't go out, answering questions when it came to what's on my resume, what's in my application. They came to me because I was showing that I was a thought leader in this industry, in this field. All right. So I hope this content was good. I hope these examples were very helpful, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you so much, Todd. I have so many questions, but I don't want to take away the time from our wonderful audience. So thank you so much for today's presentation. I think you're going to have a few hundred more friends after today visiting you on LinkedIn. And I think Mike has put into the chat your website where folks can connect with you and, of course, learn more or order your book, Resilience from Killing Fields to Boardroom. I'm going to turn it over next to now Dr. Minnick. Let me just, here we go. So thank you so much, Dr. Minnick, for being here. Dr. Minnick is our President Emeritus and Professor in the Forbes School of Business and Technology at the University of Arizona Global Campus. Prior to his current role with UAGC, Dr. Minnick served for 6.5 years as President of the Ashford University's residential and online campuses in Clinton, Iowa, and 8 years as the Dean of the College of Business and Professional Studies at Ashford. He's done consulting work in the areas of employee motivation, business ethics, improving team performance, strategic planning, and conflict management, and has presented also at many conferences. And in 2009, Dr. Minnick was recognized for excellence in teaching by the Commission for Accelerated Programs as one of the 3 awarded recipients from across the U.S. Dr. Minnick is co-author of 2 books, The 5 Functions of Effective Management. We have another author here with us today, as well as Stay Engaged. It's essential chunks of leadership wisdom and knowledge to improve your leadership effectiveness. I love it. We'd love to learn more just about those, but Dr. Minnick, thank you so much for being here to share some great insights about our MBA program.
Thank you, Kelly. So first of all, on behalf of everyone associated with the MBA program at the Forbes School of Business and Technology, I want to offer my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Rahim for his really engaging discussion today. I mean, I think there were so many great things to take away. The importance of being open, intention, and vulnerable in your story is really important. And I like the story about too often we try to throw stuff on the wall and see what sticks. That's not very strategic. I worked with a person a long time ago that told me hope is not a great strategy. So I think he talked a lot about some really good things and really gave us some really good questions to think about as we start to develop our story and the importance of not only telling our story, but how we tell our story. So thank you for those incredible words of wisdom. And we are really, really fortunate to have Dr. Rahim teach our MBA program. And I think that kind of energy and passion is what you'll see with our program. So thank you so much for spending time with us. So I'm going to take just a couple of minutes to talk about our MBA program within the Forbes School of Business and Technology. I've been in higher ed almost 30 years and I've been around lots of different MBA programs. The majority of the years. Now we've put the content and curriculum of the Forbes School of Business and Technology MBA program against any of those MBA programs seen in the past. And what we've accomplished and what I'm really, really proud of is that we have designed and implemented a learner-centered curriculum which encourages our students in close partnership with our faculty members, as Kelly said, what she did in the class with Dr. Rahim, is to become creators of their education instead of passive recipients of secondhand knowledge. So it becomes very practical and applicable to what people do. So, and that's really, really exciting to see unfold in our classrooms on a daily basis. So a little bit about our program. The class that Kelly had with Dr. Rahim features Steve Forbes, and our Global Economics and Political Influence course shares his valuable insights. Forbes Media has been around about 100 years, so he has some really incredible insights from personal plus that kind of historical knowledge as well. We have interactive business simulations. Our legal class has that. Our capstone class also incorporates that, where so many times in an MBA capstone, you read about a case, you write about a case, you talk about a case. Well, in our MBA program, you're really creating your own case as you go along. You make decisions in week one, you get feedback in those decisions, and then those feedback and those decisions feed into week 2, 3, 4 through 5 and 6. So it's really a real life sort of, here's the decision and the impact of those decisions. We have gamification, which is also included in our Business 624, which is our legal class. We have RSS feeds from industry experts in each of our classrooms. We have a scaffolding case study that builds from one to the other. So you go from the leadership class to the marketing class to the applied psychology class, and all the time we keep building on this case study as we go along. Again, we have videos from authors, industry experts, faculty, personal portfolio of work, so you can create your own portfolio of work as you go through your program. So when you get done with your program, you can not only talk about what you've done, but you can physically show what you've done and the knowledge you've created throughout your program. We have career assessment tools, Clifton Strengths, talent assessment, personal branding exercises, which plays into exactly what Dr. Rahim talked about today. LinkedIn profile, again, the importance Dr. Rahim talked about that today, and relevant books and course materials. So different things people can do. There's lots of things people can do. Management analyst, business development manager, executive director, marketing manager, chief executive. I think the beauty of it is the MBA program equips you well to have the skill sets you need to move into these different career areas. But again, it's really, I think the idea is to connect theory to practice is really important. So, and I've taught classes, people go, oh, this is really cool. I can take what I've learned today and apply it right away in my workforce, which is just fantastic to see. Some of our courses, again, as you can see, it really has a kind of a leadership, global sort of financial analysis sort of approach. So the bottom 3 courses the entrepreneur, international business, and the technology outside of the capstone course. Those three are electives. So you can kind of pick, when I've got the core courses down, we pick two of those three electives. What am I most interested in? What do I want to focus on a little bit? So you have a good core MBA program, plus a couple of electives you can pick based on your interest where you want to go. So it's a really solid program that I'm really proud of. And we revamped it a couple of years ago. So again, it's not just some vanilla MBA. It's really designed with a learner-centered focus that we're really proud of.
Thank you, Dr. Minnick. And you and your faculty, the rest of your team, Dr. Rahim, you have done an exceptional job revamping this MBA program, which was done just a couple of years ago. And I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Yes, it's work, but you get so much out of it. And I'm so happy to say I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I think I only have a few of those bullets left. So looking forward to getting to walk the stage.
So I know many of the attendees today here may already have these tuition savings programs available to you. I'm sure a lot of you are possibly even attending UAGC and taking advantage of these benefits currently. But if your company is not an education partner, or maybe you're not sure, you'd like to learn more about the partnerships and or becoming a student at UAGC, we'd love to connect to discuss the options available to you. Now, if you did request information about becoming a student when you registered for this webinar, we will be sure to have one of our advisors follow up with you. There's nothing else you need to do. But maybe after listening to this presentation today, if you think it may be something you're interested in, feel free to scan that QR code on the screen there. We'll collect a little more information from you, and we'll be sure to have one of our advisors reach out and connect. All right, well, thanks for listening for just a little bit more about the tuition benefits here at UAGC. We would definitely, though, at this time, like to use whatever remaining time we have to hear from you and answer any questions you may have for us. We've already received a few great questions so far, so please continue to make use of that Q&A option there and ask any questions that you may have for us. The first one we have for you, Dr. Rahim, it seems like more and more people are becoming comfortable with sharing their personal lives and stories on LinkedIn. And I know you said, you have to present yourself differently on different platforms. But with that, how do you know where to draw the line and remain professional?
Well, like I said, when it comes to, I always see LinkedIn like your workplace, right? So what would you share in your workplace, right? And you will notice that, yes, people do share random things, but you also notice that there's a different conversation that's happening with that post, right? And that conversation often is not productive towards their professional development, right? That person's professional goals. But when they start sharing things related to their achievements, right? So you're highlighting certifications you earned, academic credentials, graduation, or maybe you completed this huge project with your company, all of a sudden you start seeing a different type of messaging, a different type of conversations. And, sometimes I would share a project I completed and someone at another company would say, hey, I'm interested in talking with you about doing that same project for my company, right? So that's what I'm talking about. It's making sure that you are putting the right message because your audience is different and you're creating opportunities for yourself, your business, and your line of work. So definitely be cautious. Don't just follow what everybody else is doing, but figure out what's best for you and understand the audience that you are trying to gain, basically.
Perfect. Another question we have is in regards to the Netflix movie, The Social Dilemma. I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts on that movie.
It scared the heebie-jeebies out of me. That was scary, right? Because it just showed all the analytics they were capturing on us. And I kind of, I think we all know it, but to actually see how it's being used against us, right? Or because we see those like advertisement follow us from one page to another. I mean, you like a pair of shoes and all of a sudden that shoe is following you every step of the way to the point you're dreaming about the shoe. And then you buy it, realize you didn't want the shoe to begin with. So we know that technology is out there,
Mhm.
right? The technology is there. The technology is being used to capture your information. You just have to be cautious about it, right? Like I said, I don't share everything about myself, and really, like for example, because Facebook is so open, I have really three Facebook pages. So I have a private one for my friends and family, right? So these are just my friends, my family, close people. I have a public one, right? That where I share, all of my marketing and advertisement, and I, meet my clients and customers and stuff like that. And I have one that's just for my books, right? So just from the author side. So, you definitely, it shouldn't prevent you from engaging with your social network, but just be cautious in how you engage, what you're sharing, and how much you're sharing.
Perfect. Well, I know we're at time. Do we want to take any more questions, Kelly, or do we want to wrap up? I want to be respectful of everyone's time, but
Yeah, I think just to be respectful of everyone's
Okay.
time, we'll go ahead and end, but we've shared Dr. Rahim, your LinkedIn and your website in the chat. So I hope everyone's had a chance to click on that. Take advantage of the QR code if you're interested in learning more about becoming an education partner or taking advantage of those great tuition savings that Mike introduced. And I just want to thank Dr. Rahim again. Thank you for being here and sharing so many great tips and insights and ideas. My head is spinning right now with all sorts of thoughts and things that I can improve on. And Dr. Minnick, thank you again for just all your work with this MBA program. So grateful for you and your team. And most importantly, thank you everyone for joining this webinar. I know that we've had folks chime in from all time zones across the world, and we appreciate you taking time to be a part of the University of Arizona's virtual global campus community. And we look forward to connecting with you again soon. Have a wonderful day and stay safe.